to have a great business, you might as well just start it, just act, and just work on it each day, and you never know what's going to happen.
Welcome to An Entrepreneur's Vibes, the podcast that gives insight into the minds of visionary entrepreneurs and business leaders. Brought to you by The Right Direction, the leading professional and technical writing company based in North America. Each episode, we explore the stories and experiences of those who dared to dream, took the leap, and built their own empires. Join us in uncovering the secrets to success and lessons learned along the way. So if you're just starting out your entrepreneurial journey or you're already a seasoned business pro, you'll find inspiration, knowledge, and good vibes right here. Today's guest is a true serial entrepreneur who has spent over a decade building a highly diverse portfolio of companies. He is the visionary behind ventures like Homework Hub Global, AI Purity, Chai Up, and in a fun twist for our listeners, he is the CEO and founder of The Right Direction. But today we aren't just going to list his resume, we're going to dig deep into the origin story of his entrepreneurial DNA, which spans generations and continents. We'll explore the unique daily mindset required to juggle multiple businesses and how he navigates the high stakes of the corporate world, and why radical self-care and spirituality are vital to leadership. Welcome to the show, our very own Kinny Saral.
Hello, Patricia. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that warm welcome. Thank you. It means a lot. How are you
Thank
doing?
Great. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for allowing me this time to interview you. It's been a long time coming. And we're not going to do this the same way as we do with our normal guests. This is going to be a very special conversation. And I really wanted to start at the very beginning. Long before you became a CEO, entrepreneurship has run deep in your blood. Our listeners might even remember your brother, who was on our podcast here, Baljot. And I know the roots go even further to both of your grandfathers. Can you take us back and tell how their story set the foundation for the entrepreneurial mindset that you and your family have today?
Thank you so much, Patricia. It's an amazing question. Yeah, like as I reflect on it and think about it more now, like both of my grandpas come from an entrepreneurial past and journey. So back then you wouldn't call it entrepreneurship. They would just call them a business person or businessman or woman, but or some in other words, like a provider. So basically both my grandpas, they were always into kind of just creating new things on their own, creating new ventures on their own. And that's what's really helped with our family. I guess that became part of our DNA in a way, just trying to be self-reliant and trying to find ways to survive and make ends meet during those days as the family lived in various precarious ways. So that kind of really helped us in various ways because that had an impact on my father, which I'll get into later on, and how he eventually started his own business. But the great thing is that I learned from both my grandpas is both of their businesses they did for their families, they did for their friends. In turn, they provided a lot of community service, and they've done some amazing things for their communities.
That's really amazing to hear that throughout generations, being a family man is something that you've carried with you. And that goes into my next question. And I wanted you to share about your home life and how you balance family time and being the CEO of multiple companies. How do you do it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I guess it depends on the time of the season as well. Over here in Canada as well, like it all depends on if it's the winter or summer months. But overall, on a day-to-day basis, as an entrepreneur, there's 5, 10, 15 things that must be done. Then there's some things that if they don't get done, it's okay. It's okay if you don't cross it off your checklist. But that's the beauty. And working from home has been a blessing as well, like having the support from your family, from your siblings, from like your mom, your parents, and your wife especially. Like they've been a really big support system for me and just allowing me to do my thing each day. Whether it's like helping me out with meal planning or certain chores or anything like throughout the week, it really goes a long way for everybody. So that's the thing about juggling, especially when you work from home. There are various things to do, but sometimes your brain just stays on all day and then
Mhm.
kind of get lost in it. So it's different ways of looking at it.
Definitely. I hear that it's different when you work for a company and when you are the head of the company. Essentially, people just clock in, normal people just clock in 9 to 5. But when you're a business owner, you're essentially on the clock 24/7. So, do you have any tips, especially because you brought up working from home? Do you have any tips for people out there in compartmentalizing, especially when you're juggling a business and you're working from home? How do you make time and just compartmentalize that, okay, this space is just for family, this space is for work? Like, how do you do that?
That's a really good question. I think it goes back to the 90/30/90 rule where like your brain, your body, your soul, it can only focus on a certain task, project, or something for like 90 minutes at a time. So I think that's one thing that really helped me is like, hey, you can only do something for a 90-minute spurt. Do your best, and then after that, go for like 15-minute walk or go eat some nutritious food or take your dog for like a little walk or go play with him. That's what I've really learned. That 90/30/90 rule has definitely helped out and is something I've mentioned to yourself and our employees as well. Like just make sure to take breaks throughout the day. That's what we have our nice unlimited break policy as well in our company. So I think all these things matter, and that's what's kind of helped me frame my mind over the years and not get burnt out. But yeah, it's
Mhm.
nice to have a clock out time. Some people say you got to end the day by 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. So I guess it all depends on on each individual.
Yeah, that's a really great tip. And I think that's a really great advice for compartmentalizing and, working from home and juggling all of these different responsibilities. Now, this is something I usually ask all of our guests with regards to entrepreneurship and education. I wanted to ask, how important was learning about business in your alma mater, York University's Schulich School of Business? And do you think it's necessary for future entrepreneurs to go this route in order to build a business?
It's a mixture of both. So you want to definitely be going to school, getting your degree, understanding the work ethic required to do like the weekly projects and the readings and understand how to prepare for the exams and the quizzes. Understanding that you should put in the weekly readings so you can finish your assignments with the highest degree of quality because yes, there's so many different like terms and different ideas and methodologies and philosophies you're going to learn from different courses and different professors, and that's always going to help you out. But I think one takeaway for me was like the work ethic, just trying to be disciplined, and that's what really helped me out. And but at the same time, I had so many entrepreneurial tendencies that I was always dabbling in, whether it was like the school club. It was something we started back then called We Show You, which was part of our other company, Train of Thought Productions, and that was just putting on a creative arts show um, in the span of like music and dance and film and theater. So that was like something we started just because I had the tendency that, hey, we should start something and maybe the arts, creative arts field and give back to the community somehow. So that was like really fun putting on like a yearly show that lasted a couple of years, even after I had graduated. So I think that's what it is. And in today's world, definitely with all the different AI tools available and all the different new opportunities, you can be in school and be experimenting with these different things, working on a side hustle. And that's one of the things that we've learned over the years. You can still have your full-time job and still have a side hustle and still work on something, as Gary Vee says, at nighttime from like 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. So after your work shift. So there's different ways of looking at it.
No, definitely. I think there is such value in pursuing higher education because there are simply fundamentals that you get there that you probably can't get from resources online. You probably could if you really looked for them, but it also shows you community, which you spoke about, and that's really something that you can't just get unless you're in university. So I think it's equally as important. And back then, just so we start a little bit about the lore of Kinney, so to speak, in 2011, you started a business, Homework Help Global. Can you tell us what sparked the idea for this business?
Yep, so that was like a really fun business. I guess what sparked that is the simple need by, I won't say their names, but these were like two good friends and just they reached out and they required some assistance with their university and college and like master's PhD level projects. So that's what that initially involved. And I was like, hey, we can definitely provide these types of editing and educational assistance and consulting type of services to our friends. And then it started with them. And then I realized, hey, we can actually turn this into a business because I was really passionate about it. I've always wanted to be a writer. I used to be a creative writer, writing creative short stories and poetry and other fun stuff like that. So this was like a nice little venture for me as I could just continue on my with my craft of writing. So that's what started there. It just started from like two friends sparking the idea and then just working on something simple as like on a very simple landing page website, thanks to my brother Baljot. He had started his company Web Sharks around that time. So he helped to put together this nice website. We did some basic advertising. And it's easy to say, oh, the rest is history, but it really wasn't because I don't know if we're going to go down that journey, but that involved like a lot of late nights, working until like sometimes even 4 a.m. to 5 a.m. and just working on multiple projects and then not being able to handle it from Monday to Sunday and then finally realizing, hey, we need a team of more editors and experts and more consultants on board. And then, so that's what really helped to start that. But the main thing sometimes a person may forget is what helped to start this whole journey. So this is something I started with my wife and who's also in our company right now. So we had started this together and that's what the beauty was, working side by side, completing different projects was, I guess that's what made it a lot of fun, like having someone supporting you in this new venture was a lot of fun for me personally. Getting to work on it together, growing it, seeing the results year over year. So it's amazing. It's a blessing, and it's been great working together. Yeah.
That's really beautiful, Ken. And since you were talking about having to grow the business and even having your wife help you with the business, I wanted to ask how important is it to build a team that supports you as you grow your business?
100%. I think that was the biggest challenge because you mentioned that was in 2011. So we didn't get married after that for like many years later. So during that whole time, it was like part of the relationship, the business. It was like the third
Wow.
person in the room or something in a way to say it. So that's what made it like fun and challenging too. And then at the same time realizing, hey, it's just us two in the beginning. Hey, we need to grow this business and have the right employees and team members on board. And that's why I believe in one of those things that Gary Vee says as well, like our employees don't work for us, we work for them. So in a way, every employee that came into our company, one of our thing was, hey, we want to work with them for like a decade. We want to work them for life. So we always kind of took on that approach. And when we took on that approach, it just kind of created that win-win relationship. It created a common level of respect and courtesy and just actually genuinely caring about each other. So that's what's kind of really helped us. So over the years, and for sure, like you said, you need a 100%, you need a team that supports you because the team that we had helping us from the last decade is the one that helped to really start all these crazy ideas that you mentioned earlier with our other businesses from Jayup and the right direction and AI Purity. All of these started because of a devoted tight-knit team that was willing to be adaptable and juggle different projects and just be willing to experiment and take risks. So that's the biggest thing we learned is when you have a strong team, you can take risks together and whatever happens, happens. So that's one of the main things I learned.
Well, you've been this hands-on leader for over a decade. How do you think your leadership style has evolved as your companies have grown over the years?
I think one of the biggest things I learned was like micromanagement. Like I'm learning that over the years to kind of micromanage less, just because we're also like in a remote working team and a remote working culture. So I think that was one of the things I learned over the years. Just to kind of micromanage less, delegate more, let our different managers manage the other employees. And that's kind of what we learned over the years personally. So, and just trying to have more like honest conversations, giving more like timely feedback. That's one of the things I feel like has helped me over the years and trying to find ways of having in-person meetings as well. Like we're obviously remote, but then we have to make an effort to like kind of see each other and obviously seeing each other in person and building that human connection, heart to heart connection is really important too. So yeah, I think it's a mixture of different things. And as leaders, as business people, we're always trying to get better. Even right now, there's a lot of things I still got to work on, other things I can perfect and get better at. So it's like a continuous journey. But the main thing is that a person has the ability to reflect. You can look back on things and be like, yeah, I did well there. I didn't do so well there. That's why I had to improve this or fix that. So that's what's kind of it's definitely helped me over the years.
You brought up our very unique remote working culture. And I think this really started to, boom during the pandemic. But you started your business like a decade back and have been, you've had and built a an online business, so to speak, even before the pandemic. And I wanted to get your opinion on maybe the pros and cons of remote working as a culture. Do you think there's more pros, there's more cons? I just wanted to get your opinion on that.
That's a really cool question. Yeah, thanks for asking that. I know my wife would have a great time answering that because before remote work was even popular, like I would say there's a lot of pros now because people do like working from home or having a flexible remote work schedule where it's half the days, or it's called hybrid, yeah, sorry, where it's
Mhm.
like half days at home and half days in the office. So there's a lot of pros to that, but before remote work culture was even a thing, I remember it was like kind of like looked down upon. People were like, "Oh, working from home, huh? They're probably not even doing much." It was like it kind of had like a stigma as well. And I remember when we were trying to start this out, we were also not careful about it, but we even did some research on what actually makes good remote working companies. So I remember looking into various tools we can use, or productivity tools, or like project management tools like Trello. That's one of my favorite ones. Communicating with each other via Slack, like amongst the team, like that was really important. So I remember me and my wife, like we just took a little mini course on remote working because back then there wasn't much information out there. We attended like a couple of webinar or seminars and just kind of learned the best tips and tricks of the industry. And then it was nice to, that was like in 2014, 15, and 16. Then it was nice to see that being discussed again 5 years later, like during and after the pandemic, and people giving more value to remote work. So, but definitely pros and cons. Cons, like we discussed earlier, you can get lost in work all day, and even employees that may have the regular clocking in, like the issue could be they may still be required to answer after hours, or they may still have their Slack on or other notifications on. So definitely it's important to plug out and give yourself a break. So that's one of the new trends I'm seeing as well is the digital detox
Mhm.
era is amongst us. That's like another trend I'm seeing. So that's important as well.
Wow, that is really fascinating because if you think about it, you guys were really kind of ahead of the curve, and you were taking seminars about remote working in 2014. So that's like really a really fascinating fact that I just knew today. So thank you for sharing that. And now I wanted to ask you about maybe some of the challenges that you've faced with the multiple ventures you've created over the years. How have you approached navigating those obstacles or maybe recalibrating your strategy along the way?
Great question. There's like so many obstacles and I can just be going in tangents. Like it could be like with like our marketing campaigns, like you might be doing well in Google Ads one month and the next month it may not be performing the best. You may not be getting the same conversions or your click-through rate has spiked and there's so many different things to definitely look at. And if I get more granular, like over the years, it's like bottlenecks. When the company grows to a certain level, like how do you handle more volume? Then you need to basically get more staff to handle that increased volume. You got to increase your operating hours. That's why we love to service our businesses like 7 days a week from Monday to Sunday, just so we can service our customers throughout the week. There's been multiple challenges. There's been like HR challenges, like trying to find the right employee. And one of the things is when you do, you feel like you've done a great job at hiring. We love to congratulate ourselves on hiring, but once somebody joins the role, what if they're not a good fit? What do you do then? Do you wait 1 week? Do you wait three? Sometimes you might wait months. Sometimes time passes by and then you just have to make a decision later on, which kind of hurts you later on. So that's one of the things we've learned is over the years is whatever decision we're gonna make, just make it fast and just try to act faster. And that kind of leads into our act, analyze, adjust mentality, triple A, which we always love to say. Act first, and then analyze the results, and then adjust, and then just do it again and act again. So it's something personally I'm still learning as well. And maybe as we go through the podcast, I might have some more stories of the obstacles, but that's the beauty of it. There's always obstacles, but the great thing is you have a team to help you kind of navigate through it.
That's really great, Ken. And because you brought it up, I really just wanted to share with our listeners, and I wanted to get more insight on it as well. But something that we live by in the companies is act, analyze, and adjust. And I really wanted to know, how did this come about? Where did this come from? And why is it so important for our companies?
Yeah, thank you so much for like following up on that. I know it's something that I've preached and said like 100 times. This came from somebody else as well. And it just sounds so simple, and it's kind of just based on like speed and execution. When you think of like the biggest sports athletes or the biggest businesses or whatever in the world, we realize what do we have to do? Like with any idea, we always have it in our mind or any task, any project, but the best thing you can do is just act. Whether it's like doing something simple as like writing a first sentence for your new book, whether it's you picking up the tool to go gardening, whether it's you picking up the keys to like go drive your car, like the first thing you just have to do is just act. And then once you've acted, now we're gonna analyze. Okay, so let's analyze what has happened. What are the results? What was that all like? We can further dive deep into it. You've acted. Now you're gonna analyze what were the results like, what happened, and then we basically adjust. Adjusting means you're going to adjust your strategy, you're going to adjust your thinking or your philosophy, and then you're going to act again. So, act, analyze, adjust is something that really worked well within our businesses. So, whether it's like us creating like a new commercial video for like Homework Help Global in the early days. We're like, oh, we got to make a video. We just quickly acted. And then we analyzed the different options and then we adjusted and we just kept moving from there. Or whether it's like, hey, we got to create a TikTok strategy like we did with Leon. Shout out to Leon Sweeting. We just started, hey, we got to get on TikTok. We quickly acted. We didn't know what we are doing for the first 2 weeks. The videos were like a mixture of memes. Then we had different things, and then it just kind of it blew up from there. So I think that's what happened when we started HHG. Just simply just acting and just going from one thing and then analyzing the market. I'm like, hey, you can do this in other ways and then adjusting your strategy. So, but yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And I know it's something I've mentioned many times at our meetings and
It
amongst the
is,
staff.
yeah, it is a really great mantra to live by. I think it also can be very relevant to anyone, not even like creating a business. You just have to act. You can't just keep chasing perfection. Sometimes you just have to take that first leap of faith, so to speak, and then analyze and adjust later on. So I think it's really beautiful and something worth sharing to our listeners. And, earlier in the episode, we did talk about the legacy of your grandfathers. And we also spoke about Homework Up Global. Now I wanted to talk about a different venture that you and your family created. It's called Chaya, which is a masala tea company. And I wanted to ask you, because this business acts as a heartfelt tribute to your father. The question is, how did launching this company feel different emotionally compared to your other ventures? And how does it bring your family roots full circle?
I know. Definitely not easy to discuss this, but so this is like so this is like a great idea and project like from our father, from my dad, and something he this was like his wonderful idea. And unfortunately, he's like no longer with us. He passed away like 2.5 years ago. But before that, like a couple of years before he passed, he came up with this great idea. Well, not even an idea. So let's talk about why did this idea start? Just from acting. He makes this amazing masala chai tea. He mixes in so many different things from green cardamom and lychee and black cardamom and cinnamon and five other ingredients, which the chai up website goes over. So he just loves to mix this up, and our in-laws were visiting over one day, and basically my wife's twin sister, my sister-in-law, she had mentioned to my father, like, wow, this is amazing tea. Like, what did you put in it? And he's like, oh, I mixed up my own powder. Here's what I put in. And then she gave us the idea. She's like, wow, uncle, like you need to create this into a business. You should be selling your masala chai powder mix to the world, and you should be letting people know about it. And obviously, it was like something in the back of our minds. I think 5 months went by, 6 months or whatever. Then we're like, hey, we should try it out. And then it just went straight into acting where like my dad helped to produce like the first official batch again. Then we got that product nutritionally tested so we can have all the nutritional facts on the back. Then you just went through like the regular steps, which you kind of forget in the moment of what to do, but as you're doing it, you just do it. Like you register the company, and then I involve yourself and Krell and the whole team, and then we start creating content and creating the website with Beljot and just getting everything ready and packaged and fine tuning the logo until it's like fully perfected. And that was like such a fun project. And that was great. We had a lot of fun with it. But unfortunately, that year when we were working on it, I believe 2023. So yeah, in that year when we were working on it, unfortunately, my dad was very sick that year. So we just kind of took a pause on that business. And now it's been like 2.5 years where all our friends and family have been asking about the chai masala powder mix. They've wanted some more. Of course, we've hooked up our friends and family with batches as they need, but like we haven't really worked on the business. And it was just a moment for us to like just reflect the last 2.5 years, to grieve as a family, to basically just come to terms with our new life and what has happened. But now, I guess in tribute to my father and in memory of him, we're gonna relaunch this. So we're relaunching it. We have a fun new angle of it, which we'll be sharing very soon. And we'll get this off the ground again. And we're going to try this again because it's about that act, analyze, adjust mentality. And we hope to make him proud and want to bring it back to life.
Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing that a very vulnerable time in your family's life. And truly, and I can say this because your father's recipe is truly something very special. And it's so great that we're finally able to reshare this. And hopefully, some of our listeners will be able to see how great this recipe is from your father. And now there's another venture I wanted to speak about because none of the ventures that you've started were ever the same. You started AI Purity and you stepped into the fast evolving world of AI and ethics. What was it that motivated you to launch a AI text detection platform? And what was the problem that you were hoping to solve in this industry?
For AI Purity, I think it just came from that passion because we're already in the writing and education field. And then we went into right direction later, which was in the B2B and B2G field. What we realized is that, hey, we have an opportunity to help both educational institutions and students to basically help detect if their written work is written by AI or written by humans. So that was like a really fun project for us because we worked with a machine learning engineer. And we had to develop the code from scratch. We had to keep updating the code as well, obviously, with any of these SaaS related businesses. So it was a really eye-opening business for us, and we had a lot of fun with it in terms of learning about the intricacies and what's involved with like a SaaS business, a software business. How you have to be even more lean and agile. You have to be more willing to even act quicker, even act way quicker, and be willing to hear the different feedback and different fixes for your software, like the different UX, UI fixes you have to make. So for us, it was a learning curve as well. I don't ever believe anything is like a failure, right? So we did put a lot of time into that company and project. But in the end, what we found is that it was a very saturated and competitive market. Some players had already entered months before. And it was one of those things where we required more computer coding and computer language skills. More team members were needed there. This is a company that also maybe would have required a greater investment because a lot of the ventures we do, we bootstrap it ourselves. We just invest on our own into all our businesses. We take the risk on our own. So win or loss, it's like we're on the line. So we just kind of that's how we approach things.
Yeah, definitely. I think it took a lot for you to step into the tech industry. That was maybe something that you did for the first time. And learning alongside you and the team and being in building this SaaS platform was really something really worthwhile. And actually, during that time, you were juggling not only AI Purity, but there was another business that we were in the middle of relaunching. And that is the very sponsor of this podcast, which is The Right Direction. So I wanted to segue and ask you to walk us through how The Right Direction came to be. What was it in the market that was a gap The Right Direction was trying to fill? Or maybe was there a personal moment that led to you creating this professional business writing company?
Yeah, thanks so much for asking that, Patricia. I know sometimes we forget all the different things we're doing in the moment because yeah, Purity was a lot of fun, but I remember it was like a gruesome 16 months trying to get it off the ground and just even when we got our first monthly subscriber, we're all like so happy and excited, but I know it was a numbers game as well, so we learned a lot. And then as for the right direction, I guess I hope I'm saying it right. So Homework Hub was in 2011, and then Right Direction, I think we started in like 2016, 2017, where we learned that hey, we can provide these same services to B2B, like the business world. So that's what we for business to business. So that's what we started doing then. We initially same thing, creating the logo, creating the website, working on the mission and vision. But why did it even start? Like I said, we realized, hey, there's a need for us to provide these writing services such as professional writing, technical writing to various businesses. And what kind of things were they looking for? They were looking for like customized business plans. They were looking for compliance documentation, any policies and procedures, working on like user manuals, any installation manuals. We learned is that, hey, there's a need for this in the market. So we kind of did that in 2016 building out the website, but then sometimes you get so busy with one business and then most of your time is spent there. So we kept working on Homework Hub Global and then didn't have maybe enough staff or maybe enough hours or energy to also do Right Direction. So it's kind of just shelved. At least it was there. And then I think a couple of years later, my wife reminding me that, hey, we also have the Right Direction. I think we need to revive that. And that was the year we kind of revived it. And then thankfully in that year, my father he even helped us out. I'm like, hey dad, we got like over 700 emails here. Some are junk, some are clients. Like we need to call these people back because we're reviving this now. So he even helped us to get it back off the ground. And then my wife helped, and then obviously you guys, the entire team, helped to get it off the ground as well. So the operations team, the marketing team, our web and IT team, everybody working together, banding together, and just getting it off the ground. And now it's been like a real blessing because we've serviced in so many different areas, which we can talk about as well. But that's the beauty of it. Like when you have a great business, you might as well just start it, just act and just work on it each day and you never know what's going to happen. So the biggest thing I learned during that transition was how to simultaneously two or more businesses at the same time. How do I put my energy towards there? How do we allocate our staff and our employees towards it? Who should focus on what? You've juggled so many roles over the year as well as you've navigated from like our different companies and just trying to help out wherever help is needed. So yeah,
The Right Direction offers over 50 distinct services from professional and technical writing to consulting, governance compliance, and even content and website development. How did the company evolve to serve such a wide range of needs, and what guided that expansion?
thanks so much, Patricia. Yeah, amazing question as well here. I think is what you were mentioning earlier. Primarily, I thought like, hey, everybody just needs business plans from different financial institutions to different organizations or just people looking to apply for like grants or new funding. So initially, that was the initial angle we took, thinking like, hey, everybody needs business plans. But like you mentioned, then it evolved into like producing white papers and release notes, quick reference guides, user manuals, policy manuals, installation guides. Then it kind of went into this full service one stop shop, which is the way kind of Homework Help Global was. That's what the Right Direction became as well. And then it helped us to really specialize over the last couple of years, especially like in policy and procedure manuals. There's a lot of compliance documentation. Lately, our operations team are working on a lot of training manuals and training handbook guides. So we're working on of a variety of different projects. And alongside that, that's helped open up the gateways towards like more consulting work within the fields of like grants as well as RFP writing as well.
This podcast is produced by The Right Direction, but I don't think our listeners really grasp the work that we put into this
Yeah.
company. Can you share what kind of businesses or industries come to The Right Direction the most? And what does that say about the demand for expert writing services?
Got it. Great question, Patricia. Because what we've realized, and thanks to the operations team as well, is primarily over the years, like I mentioned, it was mainly in the financial services industry. But as we look at our sample work and case studies or anything else on our website, we've helped a lot of different like companies within like the healthcare sector, so different organizations, different medical transportation companies, and even different like hospitals and healthcare organizations themselves. We've assisted in industries like software and IT, as well as transportation, construction. We did some amazing projects within the RFP space for construction as well. And then in anything else, to be honest, from like manufacturing and real estate, sports and fitness, we've done some great projects there. Some excellent work we've done with like in the education industry and enrichment programs, and as well as like any HR and logistics and e-commerce industries as well. So I think it's really allowed us to handle a variety of projects. Like you said, we put a lot of hard work into this company. It shows with our different sample works we've done. And you're right, sometimes we kind of forget the work we do or what we've kind of achieved thanks to our unique partnerships as well. Like we're also able to offer like website design services and digital marketing and graphic design services as well. So that has definitely helped us to like service our different clients across a group of different industries, but also making sure that we provide a like final package product that is fully complete end to end with full research, full consultation, full design. So we make sure like we give you the full final package.
Something that we also expanded into this year and the last is request for proposals. And we are able to provide that as a service now for our clients. And we are also able to do that in-house as we recently just became pro services supply arrangement. We just garnered that status. Can you share a behind the scenes look at how the right direction helps businesses create these winning proposals? And do you want to share what our secret sauce is?
I'll try to the best of my ability, as you know. You know part of it, you know most of it as well, and alongside the ops team. But yes, once again, I think as an entrepreneur, this stems from an idea. Like we just have to be willing to listen to other people and other ideas. Sometimes I can get stubborn in my own ways where like someone may mention something, I'm like, you brush it off. So everything goes back to like a story. I don't remember exactly how many months this was, maybe 15 months ago or 17. But someone had while I was introducing this business to like one of our cousins, basically they mentioned that, hey, are you guys also, because they're working for one of the cities, municipalities, so they mentioned like, hey, are you also involved in RFP writing and are you submitting bids? And then I just thought about it. I'm like, hey, I don't think we are at the moment, but I think this is something we should get into. And then I remember that same day or that week, I putting that idea into Trello and telling you and the team, and then we just kind of went on a little, what would you call it, tangent, or I forgot what the right word is, but like we just kind of went crazy. We went all in, just applying for any and all types of RFPs that the right direction would qualify for. And I remember that time it was like all hands on deck. Anybody who could assist on the team, we did. So that first like 6 months was a lot of trial and error. We kept submitting proposals. And like you mentioned, the secret sauce was eventually revealed as we just did so many different proposals. So the biggest thing it comes down to is sourcing, making sure you are sourcing, first of all, for RFPs that you are compliant in, that you can actually apply for, and you have like a really good chance of winning. So that's where evaluation comes in. You really have to evaluate each RFP on a detailed level, see if you really fit all the requirements, and should you actually apply? Do you actually have a chance of winning? So that's one thing that helped us is really looking at sourcing and evaluation and really paying attention to that. So last year, thanks to all the different hard work from the team, we can't obviously give out the names due to confidentiality reasons, but thanks to the team, we won some internal contracts with like the federal government. We also won something with the provincial and municipal as well. And then we also won a couple of RFPs in the USA as well. So the beauty of that is we learned like, hey, we can win this for ourselves. Why don't we also provide this as a service and help other companies win? Because once you see somebody else win, like that brings so much joy and excitement, and you feel so happy for the impact that that company is going to have like on their employees, on their community, and their overall company. So the rest was kind of history where we started helping out clients from the janitorial services where we helped them to win a nice contract at Harborfront. So that was like a really nice project and win for us. And then recently with our educational client who provides like various after school programs. They also won like a really lucrative multi-year, multi-million dollar contract. So that was great to see. And then it just kind of reinforces that, hey, we know we can do this. We got the methodology. It's winning us RFPs. We're also winning other clients' RFPs. So hey, maybe this is the secret sauce, and this is what we need to be implementing. But yeah, there's lots involved, and the team would obviously expand on it lots more. There's a whole compliance team involved. There's a whole writing and editing team involved. Even once the work is completed, there's a design team involved where you really have to care about the different facts and figures you have in these different reports and making sure it's really compelling and kind of make it fun to read for the viewer, for the reader, because they have to go through so many different proposals. Yeah, there's a lot to it, but yeah, that's in a nutshell.
Something that I've learned as we grew with the right direction is the importance of writing services. And I see that because of all the different clients that we've worked with, from healthcare to education to governance. But not a lot of businesses take it as an important factor into their success. I wanted to ask you now, why do you think professional writing services are so undervalued, yet so critical for business success?
That's a great question. I think it's something that maybe larger companies, they may realize, hey, this is something we always need, but maybe some smaller companies, SMEs, they may realize it's not entirely needed in the short term. But I think with the advent of AI, as more companies have the availability and like ability to apply for more like maybe RFPs or bids, it kind of helps to increase their capacity to apply more and more. But at the same time, when everything is so commoditized, that's when you need companies like ours to come in and not just provide the humanization to making sure that everything is humanized and sounds good and reads well, but that also has that compliance factor as well. That we are following everything that the RFP has requested, that we are following the internal policies of the RFP itself, and double checking any other legal compliance matters as well. So that's one thing that I feel like that has helped. And I feel like this industry will continue to evolve as more people realize they could apply for more grants or more RFPs, or whether it is like updating their policy manuals, or many companies have to update their handbooks. So I think it's just a matter of each company realizing on their own the need for these services. And I guess at the same time, some people don't even know companies like ours exist. So it's also our job to get out in the community and network more and let people know that hey, we provide these types of services as well. Because some companies might just have like internal teams who are doing it, but if they had an extra agency or partner or another team member externally helping them, it would help to take that work to the next level. Some companies may not have an internal team at all, and they just need some outside help. So I guess it's just really customized. Hope that makes sense.
No, definitely. And Ken, we've spoken a lot about the various ventures that you've built over the years, but now I wanted to talk about spirituality, mindset, and self-care and how that has impacted the way you have been a leader all these years. Can you share with us and the listeners how or what your personal self-care routine looks like? I know you're into cold showers, the Wim Hof method, and gratitude journaling. How do these habits shape your mindset and performance as an entrepreneur?
That's a great question as well. Like, I think it's just all about like discipline. In the moment, you're like, what am I even doing? You learn something online or from Instagram Reels or on TikTok or from reading articles. I love reading different health articles. And then you just realize something and then you just act on it. And I'm like, what is all this about? And then you just kind of act on it. So that was one of the first things I started with, was just taking like cold showers and meditation. And now I think it's been like 4 years and doing it every day, consistently, every day, nonstop. Probably missed like a day or two here and there because of whatever reason, but actually out of 365 days, doing it 364, 363 is that's what's kind of helped me. So why cold showers? I don't know. There's so many reasons for this that Wim Hof explains. There's a lot of mental and spiritual, psychological, physiological, neurological impacts that just cold showers do. So that's like one of my things I always say, but not to like sound like overzealous or anything. I'm also normal. You take your regular hot shower, and then at the end you just end it off with like cold water, like at the end for like 2 to 3 minutes, and it just kind of wakes you up. And for me, it also I also get like that warrior feeling. I'm like, hey, a lot of our gurus and warriors from like two, three, 400 years ago. I don't think they had boiling hot water waiting for them. So they just the cold shower is something, and it helps to wake you up and wakes up all your little veins in your body. And so that's what kind of really helped me. And then I feel like meditation, that's been amazing. Like just actually just sitting there and just meditating and just being in the dark and just like closing your eyes. So there's so many tips that a lot of people have. My biggest value and takeaway is whatever comes to your mind, let it. Like you don't have to not think about nothing. Like whatever comes to your mind, let it. Just be aware of it. It's like a thought. You just be aware of it. And then the next one, it's like little bubbles. Just be aware of them and just let it keep going. So I think that's been like a great practice that I've been doing. And then it kind of shows like if you're doing something good in the house, like other people will also start doing that. So it's nice to see my wife also meditate every morning and taking on some of these things. Tried to get her to do cold showers, but that's not everyone's like cup of tea. So you can't
Mhm.
like push everything onto everyone. But like what else is part of the routine? I guess sometimes a person forgets. So those are my main two things as well. And then obviously like working out, weight training is important, like doing that 3 to 4 times a week. That's one of my passions. Doing cardio, like we bought a trampoline recently, so it's fun doing the trampoline. That's been like a lot of fun, just increasing the heart rate even more. And then, like you said, the gratitude journal. That's like a lot of fun. That goes from something I learned. It's called like be, do, have. So you have to say you want to be something, and then you'll do those things in order to have those things. But we always say that, hey, I want to have something. Once I have this, then I'm gonna do this, then I will become this. So it's just kind of flipping it. So that's something I also learned from somebody. And then it's just a matter of just writing like to be statements, like I'm grateful to be, and then you just write your statements. So that's something we try to do like every day, and you don't ever have to beat yourself up if you can't. So it's something that I try to stick to every day. So these are the kind of things that really help me. The other one was like the morning three. Before you just start with your day, like as your feet touch the floor, as it touches a carpet, that's when I do my morning three, just quick three quick things you're grateful for. So it kind of just puts you in the right mindset right away because sometimes we want to just snap out of bed or look at our phone right away. So I do my best not to look at my phone or anything. So start off with the morning three and then you start off with your day.
Wow. Thank you so much, Ken, for sharing your self-care routine. And I really like the idea of starting your day with gratitude. I think that really sets the tone for the whole day when you look at a lens and you're just grateful for all the things that we sometimes take for granted, like
Mhm.
health, the ability to do all the things that you were saying earlier, like working out. And speaking of that, you do have a lot of other creative outlets. You enjoy gardening, and we already know you love writing, and you even enjoy curating music. How important are these passions to help you stay balanced while running multiple companies?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think these are things that were instilled in me at an early age, thanks to like my grandma, she was like a big gardener, and then my dad was a very big gardener, and then always used to garden as a family. My dad taught my wife, and he always involved me and my brother and my mom, so became like one of those nice like family traditions. Like, hey, you got to garden every summer. You got to get the soil ready, buy the bags, um and lug them around to the back of the backyard. So it was like a yearly thing. Then it just kind of became ingrained in you. At first, it's something like, oh, you may not enjoy it, or why am I doing this, or what's this all for? Then you just naturally find your love and affinity towards like plants and the garden. So that's like been one of my things. But yes, I also complain sometimes. I'm like, oh, it's so busy today. How when are we gonna water everything? Like, when are we gonna do this or that? So it's teamwork. Whoever can do it, everyone pitches in. That's one of the beauties. But yes, having those little things help out. It just kind of connects you. It grounds you. So I'm also into earthing, just letting your feet just be on the earth. Got really nerdy with that stuff when I learned about like how your feet connect with the earth and how that releases the electrons and all the positivity it does for you. I even have like an earthing mat in my office that I sit on. That's like connected to the earth. So these are
Wow.
just little things I've picked on over the years. But yes, it's important to have those types of hobbies, even whether it's like going for walks after like lunch or dinner. I love to do stuff like that. Taking our pet dog on a walk. Like that's always fun, playing with him and doing other stuff when you get time. May not always have time, but to play video games or hanging out with your friends or family, just doing the simple things, having good dinners, playing good music while everyone's vibing out. So those are things I enjoy.
It's really the simple things. And I really love how underrated grounding is and touching grass. We're always on our screens and we can be so detached from the real world that sometimes it's really all the things that you spoke about earlier. It's really the simple things that keep you grounded in life and business and anything else. And you brought up a lot of thinkers earlier, and we've also talked about your family, whether from thinkers or people from your family. What has been the biggest life lesson you picked up that you now apply in your entrepreneurial journey?
That's a tough one. There's too many. It's really hard to say. There's too many. Like certain lines will just right now everything's just coming to my mind. So I don't know. Without struggle, there's no progress. Like that was like a line that stuck with me for so many years. Like, hey, if you really want to make it, you got to work hard. You got to put in the sweat equity, put in that extra work. That went a long way for me. The 1 to 10 rule, which I talk about, choose a number 1 to 10, but you can't pick seven. So then that makes people think, what's up with that rule? That could be applied to like if you want to go to like a person's event or a party, or if you want to start the next business, or if you want to go on that I'll go on that date, or like if you trying to make some major life decision, big or small, something like that stuck to me, like the 1 to 10 rule and not choosing seven. So stuff like that has stuck with me. There's been a lot of life lessons, obviously learning a lot from my dad and my parents and them coming to Canada as immigrants, like all the hard work they put into like our parents are like our role models. So seeing all the stuff they've done for us, all the sacrifices they made, and how much they really cared to like make things happen for us and for us to be successful, caring about us. So that all those things go a long way. So a lot of different things have shaped me. It's tough to say one thing.
No, definitely. There's been so many things that I've learned from you as well. So I can definitely understand. It's been a lot of different people who have shaped the way that you have become a leader and how you've grown and reflected over the years. And with that, I wanted to ask you, what does success look like to you now compared to when you first started your entrepreneurial journey?
Got it. That's a great question. I think when anybody first starts, they're just focused on like financial number, the projection. But as I've learned over the years, like for harmonic wealth, there's like 5 areas. There's financial health, there's relational health, there's physical health, there's spiritual health, and there's mental health. So what I've realized how it's evolved over the years is you want more peace and harmony in your life. You don't want to always be stressed out. It's not always about trying to make more money. It can be more about making more money, but how do you do it in a peaceful, relaxing way? How can you make sure all your loved ones and everyone is looked after, your family, your team? How positive and productive is your team? Are they happy in their day-to-day lives? Are we looking after everybody? So that's how the ways I try to measure success these days. And that's what really makes it important because what's more better than peace and harmony and happiness? I think that's one of the most important things I've learned these days.
I definitely agree. It's really, like I said earlier, it's really the simple things. And something that I'm getting and learning from you is really the importance of being a family man, being a provider. And I think that's like one of the best features about you. So I think that's really special that you get to share that today. And with all the great advice you've been sharing, I wanted to ask, what advice would you have for young entrepreneurs who are just starting out and looking to build something from the ground up?
Got it. I think it just goes back to acting. I would say just start on that idea. If you want to start that idea by yourself, start it with your friend, your family, whoever it is, I would say just start it. Just give it a try because what you start with might not end up with what actually makes you successful or what makes that business off the ground. So it's almost like a testing ground. You're going to try this out and then we're going to let the market decide. They might like it, they might not, or they might say, hey, this is amazing, but if you also added this, then I'm your client for life. So then you just kind of learn, and that kind of helps with like any product or service and just starting out. And I think in the end, we just have to approach it with the mindset of doing it for the end user by providing value. Like, how are we going to solve a problem in their life? And what kind of value is it going to bring to them? So I think that's really impactful and that really helps out. and definitely have a strong support system, like have someone supporting you. And if they're not, just learn to ignore and not let that hit you so hard, because that's one of the major things is you might have an idea and you tell someone they might be like, "Oh, it's not a good idea. You don't need to do that." Then you're like, "Yeah, uh, what's the point of it?" So maybe don't share ideas with everyone, and maybe just
Mhm.
execute it and just see what happens, or the 21 day thing, like this 21 days, 40 days. I won't get into all that, but like sometimes you do a project, don't tell anyone for 40 days. Like that's one of the rules. Is
Mhm.
something in all the religious books we've learned. The number 40 comes up many, many times. So there's a reason for it. So it's kind of like that thing we've learned, like the evil eye, the nuzzer, and all that. So sometimes that's what we've learned, even in our own projects that we've worked on. So maybe don't share with everyone right away and just let the market decide and then be like, yeah, that was us, or let us know what you think now. So yes, it goes back to that. Just start, have a strong support system, and go from there.
That is really good advice. And I'm definitely taking that, when, if and when I do decide a venture of my own, definitely just start and don't tell people about it as early. Just let it build itself up and then let it do the talking. Earlier we talked about how you guys were kind of ahead of the curve with remote working. Now, looking at the horizon, can you foresee the biggest trend you think will completely disrupt industries in like the next 5 or 10 years?
I honestly don't. So that's one of the things I know. So it's nice to be a visionary and kind of see ahead, but like sometimes you may not. So right now, what we do know is there's a lot of different AI tools coming out, and there's a lot of different skills coming out with like Claude. So right now it's a matter of everybody literally experimenting. We all got to experiment in terms of how can we make our workflows more optimized? How can things be more efficient? And that's the trend I think we're basically going towards. But then it goes back to two sides as the world becomes more digital and everyone's into more AI and how it works for us and our companies and processes and systems. There's the other side of it, which is the analog world. Everyone's going to want to connect more in person. So that's the one thing I see moving forward, which we've heard a lot about, is more in-person meetings, more in-person like connections and dinners, more like community dinners, like where you're moving around from table to table, meeting different individuals in your field. Maybe drive-in movie theaters are going to be more popular again, and people want to have more connections that way. So I think that's the cool thing we're entering right now is that phase of the world where this is what Gary Vee has also talked about a lot, like, at length. So when one side is pushing this way, the other side will push the other way as well. So that's something we've noticed as well with like Gen Z as well, like how they enjoy more of the in-person and they also enjoyed a digital detox and not being on your phone all the time. So that's one of the things I tell myself. I'm on the screen all day, then I can't be on the phone afterwards. So you got to give yourself just a break. So that's what I think right now. But yes, we're in the era of AI and robotics, and then there's quantum computing coming out, and there's a lot of stuff. And I try to keep myself educated so I can not just stay ahead of the curve, but at least kind of expect what's coming our way, like we did in the past with other various projects. So let's see how the next 5 to 10 years go.
Definitely. Let's see. And it's really great that you brought that up, that we are in the age of AI and that we are teetering this line between wanting to adapt with new technology, but still grounding ourselves and finding these in-person ways to connect with people. And there is this discussion online, or it's a very it's a topic of discussion where some people are kind of threatened with this new technology, and they do say that it can't, and it has kind of taken some jobs away from people. I wanted to get your opinion on that. Do you think maybe in the next 5 or 10 years, do you think AI is really going to take everyone's jobs away? Or I just wanted to get your opinion on that discussion. Like, where do you stand on that?
I know. Thanks for following up on that because I didn't want to dive too much into that. But yeah, that's one of the things where we're seeing across the board amongst like maybe Fortune 500 companies is we're seeing the headlines of this many employees were are laid off or let go or whatever terminology you want to use for lack of a better word. So that's what's happening at the moment. And I think what's going to happen is this is something I mentioned in Slack one day as well. The companies are kind of restructuring themselves. And as they notice that AI has unlocked a certain productivity or has made a certain process or workflow efficient, then it only makes sense for those companies to hire more employees to service that area where AI is helping to make things more efficient and productive. So I think that's where we're going to enter. We say like, oh, it is threatening jobs, but at the same time, I think it's going to be with every technological advancement that we've seen from the printing press and from the industrial oil era, and then finally when the internet came out, and now to when we have AI, each technological era was preceded by more wealth, like across the world. It was preceded by like more millionaires being created, more people, more entrepreneurs were created. So I think that's one of the other sides. It's like we're going to be moving into a world where everything's going to be based on like the brand, the human, the person. So it's going to be even more important to like have yourself out there because anybody can quickly spin up something online and act like they're providing a service, but who's the actual company behind that? Who are the people and the faces? Can they be trusted? So that's where like it's fun and interesting. I won't get into the blockchain and everything else, but it's going to become a world where it's based on trust and like and your brand, even more than ever. So where individuals will be able to outshine even some bigger companies just because of their trust level and the overall rapport community level with the community. So
No, thank you. That's a really great insight. And I definitely agree. At the end of the day, AI is a tool, and all tools need people behind them to keep it going. So I really like how you put that people will still choose to trust businesses that they know. So I really like that insight.
I'll just add like this is like a newer field as well, and it's something that I love to be on like X on Twitter, so I like looking at different viewpoints. So I think this is something that it's still evolving. We're all like learning what is going to happen to everybody's jobs and careers, and it was very scary at first. Now it's not as scary. Now we're entering another area. How do we adapt it and embrace it? So I think we're all constantly learning, and let's kind of see what happens as the months and years unfold.
Definitely. And another question I just wanted to ask is, what is the legacy that you hope to leave behind, both in terms of your businesses and your personal contributions to the world?
I think the main thing I've learned from like my father is like what did he leave behind is that whenever people talk about him, like they light up, they they feel energy, they feel light when they talk about him, and he brings like joy and warmth to their hearts, and that's what I feel, and like that's what makes us so proud as a family whenever we see that anyone talks about him. So what's gonna be my legacy, our legacy is like when people talk about us, do we have an impact on their heart or their mind? Do we say something meaningful to them in their life? Do we make some sort of great impact in their life? What value do we really provide? And that first starts with your friends and family. Then it starts like with your community, like all of our staff and our employees, like anybody else involved. And then it's like the rest of the community, like the world at large. It could be like your customers, whoever you're serving. So I think that's one of the things we care. Like that's we have like a zero inbox strategy and no customer gets left behind strategy, whether it's on in Gmail or in social media or wherever it is. So it's because we actually care, and that's what people should be remembered for. So in the end, I hope my legacy will be remembered that I always gave it my all. I was kind where I always could be, and I did my best. But in the end, like just really being a provider and just giving it my all and providing that service and value to all my loved ones, our staff and community.
Yeah, really greatly put, Ken. Thank you. And you've shared a lot of really great advice. You shared about your personal self-care routine. You've shared advice to young entrepreneurs. Now, I wanted to switch that back. If you could give yourself, your younger self, any piece of advice about business or life, what would that be?
I know it's like a common theme, I think. Even right now, it's like recording this podcast. It's I would just say anything, start sooner. So that's one of the things I learned is from the days of like delivering newspapers as a little boy with my grandpa helping me, like it was just, hey, start sooner. Like, you got to get this done. So why not start at like 12 p.m. and starting at like 4 p.m. or like just little things like that just made me realize throughout my life, start sooner. Hey, you want to learn ice skating? Start sooner. Oh, you really want to go to this amazing business school? Like start preparing sooner. So it was all these different things that's really helped me. Um, I know I go on a lot of tangents, but that's one thing I would tell myself is like just start sooner, have fun with it, and accept failure. Accept failure as opportunity. So we always forget. I'm like, oh, we failed, we failed. Sometimes I'll say that. But failure equals opportunity. You should be grateful and blessed that you had the opportunity to even go through those different challenges. Whether you won or not, it doesn't matter. So that's what I love from a lot of entrepreneurs, learning that, hey, it's okay if you have like 11 wins and like 15 losses or whatever the case may be. At least you did it versus just going, you'd have 2 wins and like 3 losses. We kept it nice and tidy or whatever the case might be. But hey, why can't we go for like, hey, let's have 15 big wins and we're gonna have 42 losses. Not big ones, like 40, whatever the case may be. This is just getting into more sports numbers now, but just taking more chances, I would say.
That's really beautiful, Ken. Thank you so much. And, this is a very unique time that we have you being on our platform. Is there a message you want to share to any of our new or past listeners? Maybe we even have some clients listening to us or some entirely new listeners seeing this podcast. What is something you want to share before we leave?
Yep, thank you so much for that, Patricia. I would just say, like, as a family man, as a provider, all of my family values, my core values is something that we greatly instill and show them in all of our businesses and all of our clients' services. It's something that shows as you go through our website or you look at our videos or any of our content. It just shows like that same language that we have, that we truly care about our work, we care about our employees, we care about our customers, and we care about the overall end experience. That's why we're one of the few ones in the industry that provides like unlimited revisions for up to a year, because we're going to be around. We're not going to ghost you, and we want to continue to assist and provide value for not just one year, but for like years and decades to come. So it's the same way we say we want to work with our employees for life. We also want to work with our clients for life as well. So that's one of the things we've learned in the B2B and the B2G world as well, is building those trustworthy relationships. So that's the main thing I'd like to get across is that I and our team, we truly care about everything we do.
Wow, thank you so much, Ken. I can't believe we just breezed through the time that we did during this podcast. Really, thank you so much for taking the time to create our very own podcast and for the honor of allowing me this interview and, of course, sharing your wisdom with our listeners. And, of course, thank you to everyone who listened to us today. This has been your host, Patricia. And remember, for all your professional, business, and technical writing needs, there's only one way to go, and that's with the right direction. See you guys soon. Thank you again, Ken.
Thank you so much.